Good evening, I am your host, Jack Remington of the Jack Remington Political Analyst channel. Today's video, and I got to get out in a hurry because the announcement's coming later today, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so it's 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Twitter. It's been a foregone conclusion that Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he is formally announcing his candidacy for president of the United States. So much for him declaring late June of 2023, which has been next month or 4 weeks from now. He has to speed things up. And you're thinking, why had to speed things up? Why couldn't he wait to the end of June like he said he was going to do? Well, Donald Trump, the former president, is now at 62% ahead. And it's almost a foregone conclusion that he's going to just capture the GOP nomination without much of a fight. Despite Tim Scott getting in the other day, Chris Christie's still mulling a formal announcement, and with former Vice President Mike Pence still has not formally announced yet, but they're sure talking like they're going to. But maybe this Ron DeSantis announcement tomorrow will stop these two clowns, these two backstabbing clowns from entering the race. Here's the catch. Okay, if Ron DeSantis had waited too much longer, the GOP committee could have just said, hey, you know what? We're not going to have any primaries. We're just going to just announce that Donald Trump is the nominee, and that's it. And I know what you're thinking. Well, can they do that? Well, yes, they can. Both the Democratic National Committee and the GOP have done it in the past, and I got some notable exceptions here that proves my point here. But the GOP did it in 2020. Donald Trump was a presumptive nominee. There was no primaries. Let's see. Reagan did it in 1984. No one challenged him. Richard Nixon in 1972. For his re-election, no one challenged him. Democratic National Committee did it with Bill Clinton in 1996. There was no challenger. And Lyndon Baines Johnson, or LBJ, in 1964. You got to remember, in 1963, the greatest Democrat president in the 20th century was John F. Kennedy, Sr. He was assassinated November 22nd, 1963, so LBJ became the president the same day, right? Well, the election was just 11 months away. No one challenged LBJ, and he won 45 states to Barry Goldwater's 5. He barely won his own home state of Arizona, by the way. Ron DeSantis is going to make his announcement with Elon Musk on Twitter. Go, really? Well, let me digress a moment here. Okay, Elon Musk has clearly stated he is willing to move off of Donald Trump. And he announced that months ago. Why? It's very easy to figure out, folks. Use your common sense. Where does Elon Musk get the majority of his funding for his SpaceX, his Tesla, the Boring Company, and that satellite company? You guessed it, Uncle Sam and your tax dollars. Donald Trump, in his 4 years of president, curtailed the Fed, the pork belly machine, and the bottom feeding thing that just eats up money like it's nothing. And in particular, the military-industrial complex. And Elon Musk is highly dependent on the military-industrial complex, although he's never really come out and said that. But let's face it, he's using some of NASA's technology and their assistance, even though he's a competitor. In the Boring Company, he's got Department of Transportation employees working for him, retirees and everything else. I mean, let's face it, for Elon Musk has to work with Starlink Satellite and the SpaceX project and NASA. Remember any of that? He's getting easier to read because he's boxed himself in a corner. Long story short, remember, the establishment will put anyone in that office, in the Oval Office. Okay, remember, they want to pick the candidate. Okay, they don't want some outsider like Trump coming in again. But I'm telling you, I've said in the other videos, Ron DeSantis is not an outsider. He's an insider. And they'll put anyone in the Oval Office. When you see what they've done, they put Joe Biden in there. He's rubber stamping everything. Rubber stamping the huge spending bills for the military-industrial complex, big ag, big pharma, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, the feds, the banks, big labor, and don't ratchet up the tariffs against China, Vietnam, Ireland, and others, as most of the establishment has investments in those countries. What linked me to correctly pick Ron DeSantis running for president is the most recent change in the Florida law last week. Well, it was really April 28th, I think, when the thing was finally drafted in the Florida state legislature. But Ron DeSantis had the law changed. He helped influence, or his lobbyists helped get this thing changed, that he doesn't have to resign to run for presidency or any other office. He can keep his job as governor. If he gets swamped or whatever, loses in the general election next year, he gets to keep his job. So once I saw that, I thought, he's going to run. I mean, if you couldn't see that coming, I got a bridge out here I'll sell you for a good price. So, and there's a few scenarios I want to talk about, but before I get to that, but while we're discussing 2024, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott has jumped in the race. So, but before I get to the scenarios, I do like South Carolina Senator Tim Scott very much. I could vote for him easily. I think he has what it takes, and his integrity speaks volumes, and I don't see anything bad about this guy at all. I mean, he grew up poor, too. He started at the bottom like a lot of us do. He loves his country, he appreciates us. I mean, I don't care if he's black, I could care less. We truly have come a long way. We judge by the character and what they say and what they do first. Race, to me, is of no consequence, and millions of other Americans. Unfortunately, the Democrat Party and some RINOs, they want to keep race in their back pocket. So let's go over 3 scenarios I see with this. Scenario number 1, okay, Ron DeSantis sees that he cannot catch Trump, and then he extends his hand to ask for the vice president nomination. Okay, the problem therein would be that it's a federal law that prevents both President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States from being from the same state. Okay, right now, Ron DeSantis lives in the Florida Governor Mansion in Tallahassee. Donald Trump's main residence now, official residence, is Mar-a-Lago. That can't happen, so they can't be a ticket together, because one of them will have to move, and believe it or not, this puts Ron DeSantis in the pickle. Like I said in the other video, that Ron DeSantis has the most to lose. Okay, Trump can move, but Ron DeSantis can't. He's a sitting governor of his state. But that's scenario number 1. Okay, let's get to scenario number 2. Okay, Ron DeSantis somehow closes the gap versus Donald Trump and creates a real dogfight. Okay, and don't put it past Donald Trump to run as an independent, to just tell the GOP to give him the middle finger. And you got to remember, he threatened to do this in early 2016. If Donald Trump does run as an independent, and don't rule this out, okay, that would just split the GOP in half and the Republican Party in half, and it guarantees a Democratic victory for 2024 for the Oval Office. But the problem is, who's the Democrat nomination? And I'll get to that scenario number 3. But this is my prediction anyway. I think the Democrats are going to get to the White House in 2024, and I think Donald Trump has no shot. You got to remember, he had the power of the presidency behind him. He was, he was told about bringing in the Army, bringing in the Marines, and confiscating machines and setting up stations, and it would have been legal for him to do so. I forgot the statutes right now, but he didn't do it. He complained about it. He predicted it, and he told everybody about it, and no one paid any attention. They just wanted them gone. And he made that phone call to Georgia, and that lawsuit's coming up whenever they're planning all these lawsuits to try to get Trump in jail somehow. But he made a phone call. Hey, I'm sure there's not cured ballots, and there's a lot of problems with the voting machine, or whatever. You can't find me 11,000 votes. I mean, he's allowed to ask a question, but they're trying to say he committed a crime by trying to influence the election. That's not true. If I call you up and say, hey, can you find me 10 extra coins so I can ship this guy from eBay? He bought 20 coins and he only got 10. Can you find me 10 coins? Well, I'm allowed to ask that question. I mean, I'm allowed to ask that. I'm allowed to call the Ventura County Election Boards. Hey, can you find 5 votes that, I ran for office in 2009 and internet blog is wrong. I mean, I didn't get 5 votes. I really got 10. You can't find the 5 votes that I think I got? That's a legitimate question. But they're just turning everything Donald Trump says into any kind of a crime because they're trying to get rid of him. And notice how no one in Congress, no Supreme Court, no federal judges are stepping in to intervene these witch hunts against Donald Trump because they want him gone. And I can't stress enough to people. I mean, I try to tell my son-in-law, I try to tell my wife. They don't believe, they think they want Trump gone because of his personality. His personality doesn't help any. But we've had people worse than him in the Oval Office, and OBJ's one of them, by the way. And Andrew Jackson's another one. Andrew Jackson challenged you to a fist fight. You got in his face and called him a liar. He would get up and say, we're going to duke this out. I mean, that's the kind of man he was. That's why they hated Jackson. He'd fight you and win. This scenario number 2, Trump could run as an independent and just hand the Democrats the victory. Donald Trump was the last person that's this establishment, Congress, the Supreme Court, you name the establishment body, they don't want Donald Trump, okay, because he's going to turn off the money spigot. He's got that 13-year-old Tennessee virgin tighter than a drum. That's what Donald Trump did for 4 years, and he kept them under wraps. Well, they don't want that. They want to spend. You got to remember, the RINOs, they live in poor states. If I got some spare money, I'm going to make a bet because Pat Brooks. I have a friend in Ireland, and he has a Pat Brooks account. And I'll make a bet. I mean, I'm willing to bet big money that the Democrats win in 2024 because the Republicans, they're willing to be second fiddle and willing to lose to get rid of Donald Trump. I mean, that's a sad thing to bet on, but it's the truth. And there's something else too. That's in the Democrats' favor is that the red states have not going back to the old vote laws, the voting registration laws, pre-COVID, pre-2020, and just curing the ballots. Okay, when I did my research for election integrity in 1970, so I was 13 years old, there was no thing as curing the ballots. I mean, it was illegal in all 50 states and the Virgin Islands and other territories in Puerto Rico. One of those things is curing the ballots. Now it's legal in almost all states now. In every blue state, it's legal. So anyway, I'm here to tell you that it's curing the ballots. I mean, because they're getting people that can't even read and speak English filling out ballots. Now, they're going to call me a liar, and they're going to say I'm an election denier. But it's coming out that, I mean, it's been coming out, and there's actual cases that have been litigated and won, particularly Arizona. And I put a video up about 6 months ago, but the lady had to plead guilty. They had her dead to rights. She was getting illegal people voting for her. They couldn't speak English. And they were curing, and she had a little battery team that worked in the election boards, and they got busted. And then the Democrat lady, who I forgot the lady's name in charge of that district in Arizona, well, we don't know how they voted. Well, you know what? That's a cop-out. We know how they voted. Okay? If you can't figure out how they voted, like I said, I got a bridge out here right in front of my street here. I'll sell you for a good price. So that's bullshit. You don't know who they voted for. If that happens, where Donald Trump has to run as independent and it's going to be a Democrat, then they'll win 46 states easy. But we got to hope it's RFK Jr. or even Marianne Williamson. We can't have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for 4 more years. We just can't have that. I mean, there won't be a country left. Here's scenario number 3. Okay, Donald Trump seems to be the unstoppable force. He destroys Ron DeSantis and these other clowns jumping in the race. But then the deep state's going to make their move. Okay, they will incarcerate Trump. They'll make up something. They'll say he farted on the left side of his the ass cheek instead of his right ass cheek, and he picked his nose and he flicked it and it didn't hit the wall. It hit the mirror or hit the floor or whatever, and they're going to arrest him with some bullshit and tie him up to where he's ineligible to even run. They scratch him off the ballot. There's one state already saying that they're trying to figure out how to keep him off the ballot. I mean, it's all highly illegal, and like I said, not one congressman, not one senator, not one House rep, no Supreme Court justices, no federal judges, no federal justices, nothing. No one's come forward. No attorneys willing to take any case on here. They're letting Trump hang in the wind because they need Trump gone because he's going to stop them. He's going to go on a revenge tour if he somehow gets back in office. For Republicans to win, you got to remember when the election starts, there's 5 states they've already lost. That the Republicans will never win ever again. That's New York, Illinois, California, Oregon, Washington. Those 5 states, that's 140 electoral votes right there that you're already behind before the get-go. You got to remember, Texas and Florida is not a given for the Red or Team Red. You know, they could still win those states. I mean, if Democrats could win one of those states for Joe Biden, whoever the Democrat is in 2024, the election's over. I look for scenario number 3 to happen. I look for them to make Donald Trump ineligible. We're going to put him in jail over nothing, or at least tie him up. You know, and they know they got to let him go, but it'll be too late. The election will be over. The point of this video, I hope it's RFK Jr. can sneak in there and do something, because we can't have this Joe Biden. We can't have him. Can't have, or Hillary Clinton. We can't have her either, or Michelle Obama. This deep state, they want Ron DeSantis, or they want someone who's going to rubber stamp everything. All the big spending bills to keep more money in Ukraine, more endless wars, this DEI inclusion shit, the CRT, critical race theory, the LGBTQ plus, and everything is trans, and cutting off the kids' balls and cutting off the girls' tits, and this big tech, Wall Street, big ag, things are bad. And the president's got a lot of power. He's a third of the branch of the government. You got the Supreme Court. They interpret the rules. Congress makes the rules, and the president enforces the rules. The executive branch enforces the rules. But that one person, he's by himself, is the president. He's the most powerful person in the world. That's the hardest job in the world. That's why he has a cabinet. That's why he has staffers. And that's why someone like Joe Biden, who's a vegetative puppet, the people, I don't want to mention them, but you know who they are. They're behind the scenes telling Joe what to do. They get the script, they hand him little cards. I mean, we're in bad shape. And I talked to a friend that's lives back east, and it's a red state. And he told me, he said, I broke it off with so-and-so because he's a Trump hater, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm going to tell you something, Jack. I'm not going to discuss politics with you. And I said, why? And he brings this thing up about the guy being a Trump hater that we've both known for 30-some years. But he says, well, I'm not going to discuss politics because I can't do anything about it. And I vote, and that's it. And he didn't want to hear it. I hadn't talked to the guy in like a year, and before that, I hadn't talked to him in 7 years. And it's just that's kind of like the final straw for me. I mean, people just don't care about their country. They say they do, but they just don't care. And one of my experimental channel, the Quintessence Productions LLC, I came up with a video, and I'll have to see if I can dig it out. Out of the top 26 first world countries in this world, we are dead last. The United States is dead last in voter apathy. We're dead last. We got most of the voters that have no idea what the issues are. It's a popularity contest. It's a junior high school play presentation. Oh, we like the girl, she's pretty. You know, we all want to screw her. The guy is a good-looking guy. You know, and the girls want to let him screw them. You know, it's a popularity contest. This guy's cool and this guy's not. He's serious and he's mean and he's that and he's rough. He gets things done, but we don't like that. Well, you know what? Life is not supposed to be easy. So enough of my soapbox. But I'm here to tell you that the country's freaking finished.